Oh, yeah. So this is a birdhouse that me and my brother built my mom for Mother's Day. Let's see, I was 6 and he was 8. So it's been around for a while. And as you can see, it's pretty much fallen apart. So my mom asked if I could rebuild it for her. And I thought with Mother's Day coming up, it's pretty perfect timing to tackle this project. Now for this project, I'm using nothing but scraps, a bunch of 1x6 material that I've already had. This is a great project to use up those scraps. Now since a lot of the cuts are repetitive, I set up a stop block at the miter saw just to make it go quicker. I first cut all my pieces to length, then moved my stop block to cut in the 45-degree angles. And then again used a stop block with the miter gauge on the table saw to cut the side pieces. I went over to the drill press and used a 2-inch Forstner bit to drill the hole in the front. Since this is going outside, I gave everything inside and out about 4 coats of paint, just to hopefully make it a little more durable. While I was painting, I went ahead and cut my 4x4 post to size. I chose 6 feet, and then also gave it a light sanding and a paint job. Once everything was dry, I started assembling the houses, and I chose to do this with glue and screws. I made sure to use a countersink bit so the screw heads would be recessed, that way I could fill in the hole and hide them. Next I started assembling the base. I first cut some boards to kind of act as support for the base, and I wanted these to have a decorative curve to them, and I could have just hand sketched something out, but about 2 years ago I built these speaker shelves, and since I already had the shape refined, I just used some cardboard to trace it out, and that way I could use it as a template for these new supports, and then use my bandsaw to cut it out. Once I had the first one cut, I was then able to use it as a template for the rest. I used my spindle sander to just refine it a little bit and also round over the edges, just to make it a little softer. And then I put these supports on the back base plate, I guess, with glue and screws. Now I didn't put these center on these back plates because, as you'll see in this clip, they're going to be slightly staggered, so I compensated for that whenever I was placing these. And I also did not make this a very snug fit. There's about an 1/8 inch on both sides, so this way if the post slightly expands, it'll still be able to slip on and off. To attach this, I just used some Loctite adhesive. I smeared it all over the base, then just flipped it up and eyeballed about where center looked. Then I held it in place and flipped it around and used a tape measure that Laura Kampf actually gave me, it's very handy, to get a measurement on where these boards fell so that I could transfer that mark and then use a countersink and screws to I guess just add a little reinforcement. Now to fill in all my screw holes, I'm actually using the Loctite adhesive here. But since you can't clean it up with water, I grabbed a scrap piece of wood and just scraped it off. It worked really well. After letting it dry for about an hour, I came back and gave this 3 coats of paint as well. It was at this point I was looking at the original birdhouse and I just did not have the heart to completely throw it away. And it looked like the center house, this tallest one, was salvageable. So I ended up tearing it apart and cutting off all of the rotted wood. Then I sanded it down and put it back together. And sure enough, after 3 coats of new fresh paint, I put back on the original roof. And this way my mom still has something from the original build. Now back to the new birdhouses. If you want to see how I patinaed the roofs, I actually made a separate video for that, and I've left you a link in the description. But I pretty much got some copper sheets and patinaed them so that they would look a little aged. Then to attach them, I used some Loctite adhesive and a couple screws. I'm not happy with how shiny the screws are and how much they contrast with the beautiful patina, but I did sand the heads down so that hopefully they will corrode slightly and blend in a little better with the patina. Now, something I didn't do when I was building the base was compensate for the roofs being on the birdhouses. So 2 of my houses actually overhang just slightly. So if you end up doing this, then learn from my mistake. And then the last thing I did was come back with a bead of caulk just to kind of try to waterproof it a little bit more. Cool. Now of course this is just a mock-up so I can show you how it will look. But I do have a painted 4x4 that I'll put in my folks' ground, and then this will be on top of it. So if you would like a free diagram on how to build this bird hotel, then I will leave you a link in the description of the video on where you can find that. Now don't forget that next week is Mother's Day. So if you're a mother, then happy early Mother's Day. And a special shout out to my own mom. Mama, I love you and I appreciate you. It feels so good knowing that I always have you in my corner. So thank you for just being the best. Okay, that's it for this one. I hope that everybody has a very good week, and I'll see you next time. I have no idea what this piece is for. Ah, there's bugs all over it. Oh, what type of bug are you?